Have you ever felt like you're chasing someone, constantly trying to decode what he's thinking or feeling? Every time you open up, he creates distance. A silent challenge you never asked for. It's exhausting, isn't it? You may even think, if I play his game, he'll pay more attention. But let me tell you something. This is not the only way. In fact, you hold the power to flip the script entirely. Instead of wasting energy on his mixed signals, imagine reclaiming control and making him realize your true value. This isn't about manipulation or revenge. It's about mastering your emotions, realigning with your worth, and becoming the high-value woman who naturally commands respect. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true power lies not in controlling others, but in controlling ourselves. And today, I'll show you how to apply this wisdom to transform your relationships. In this video, we'll dive into 7 transformative principles, grounded in modern psychology and the timeless lessons of Stoicism. These aren't just dating tips, they're life lessons that will elevate you into someone who naturally attracts genuine connections. So, if you're ready to stop playing his game and start reclaiming your power, stay tuned. By the end of this video, you'll not only know how to handle his behavior, but also how to elevate yourself to a place of inner peace and magnetic confidence. And remember, these lessons aren't just for you. Share this video with someone who needs it. A friend, a sister, or anyone struggling with mixed signals. Don't forget to comment below with your story. Who knows? Your journey might inspire someone else to take control of their narrative. Let's get started and explore how to turn his confusing signals into your ultimate opportunity for growth. 1. Focus on your value. Have you ever paused and truly asked yourself, what makes me proud of who I am? In a world that often teaches us to seek validation from others, especially in relationships, it's easy to forget that your worth doesn't come from someone else's attention or approval. Instead, your value comes from within, from your choices to nurture and elevate yourself. This is where our journey begins, focusing on your value. Stoic philosophy reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When a man pulls away or plays hard to get, your first instinct might be to question yourself. Am I not enough? Did I do something wrong? But let's flip the narrative. His actions are not a reflection of your worth. They are a reflection of his readiness, his priorities, and his capacity for a meaningful connection. Your value isn't something anyone can take away. It's intrinsic. However, it's up to you to nurture and amplify it. Start by reflecting on your strengths and passions. What are you proud of? What makes you feel alive? Is it your ability to listen deeply, your creativity, your perseverance? These qualities define you far more than anyone else's opinion ever could. There was a time when I, too, forgot my value. I was so consumed with pleasing others, fitting into their expectations, that I neglected my growth. After a failed relationship, I decided to invest in myself. I signed up for a writing course I had always wanted to try. Slowly but surely, I began to rediscover my confidence. Each small achievement reminded me that my worth didn't depend on how others treated me, but on how I treated myself. The same is true for you. Think about the areas in your life that you've been neglecting. Is it your health, your education, your creativity? Choose one area and commit to it. Perhaps it's joining a fitness class, starting a side project, or reading a book that inspires you. The more you invest in yourself, the more you'll realize you don't need anyone else to validate your existence. Imagine your energy as a precious resource. Would you freely give away your time and emotional bandwidth to someone who doesn't reciprocate or respect you? Of course not. Yet, many of us do this without realizing it. We overextend ourselves, trying to prove our worth, only to feel drained and unappreciated. Instead, protect your energy like the priceless asset it is. Spend it on things and people that uplift you. When you prioritize your well-being, you radiate confidence, a quiet, unshakable confidence that others can't help but notice. It's this energy that attracts the right people and situations into your life. Often we focus so much on what we lack that we forget to celebrate how far we've come. Take a moment to acknowledge your growth. Maybe you've overcome challenges that once seemed insurmountable. Maybe you've learned to set boundaries, speak your truth, or take care of your mental health. These milestones, however small they may seem, are worth celebrating. Remember, Confidence isn't built overnight. It's the result of consistent action and self-belief. The more you focus on your value, the less you'll feel the need to chase after someone who doesn't see it. Start by listing 3 things you love about yourself. Then, write down 3 areas you want to grow in. This simple exercise helps you reconnect with your strengths while setting meaningful goals. Identify behaviors or situations that drain your energy, such as over-apologizing, over-explaining, or tolerating inconsistency. Commit to saying no to these moving forward. Incorporate activities that nurture your mind, body, and soul, whether it's meditating, journaling, or pursuing a hobby. These rituals remind you of your worth every single day. A high-value woman doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't overextend, she holds her ground. When you focus on your value, you don't just improve your relationship with yourself, you shift the dynamics in every relationship around you. Suddenly, the man who is playing hard to get starts to notice. He sees your independence, your self-respect, and your unshakable confidence. That's the essence of attraction. But here's the secret. Whether or not he steps up is irrelevant. By focusing on your value, you've already won. You've created a life so rich, so fulfilling that it stands on its own. And that is a power no one can take away. Ask yourself, am I living in a way that reflects my true worth? If the answer is no, it's time to realign. Invest in your passions, guard your energy, and celebrate your unique journey. As Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By focusing on your value, you reclaim your narrative. You become the kind of woman who doesn't just survive, but thrives, radiating confidence and purpose. And that, my friend, is a lesson worth embracing. 2. Match his energy. There was a time in my life when I poured every ounce of my energy into someone who gave very little in return. I remember always responding to his messages within minutes, eager to show him I cared. Meanwhile, he would take hours, sometimes days, to reply, and even then, his responses were lukewarm. I thought if I just gave more of myself, he'd eventually reciprocate. But instead, I felt drained, undervalued, and stuck in a one-sided dynamic. It wasn't until I learned to match his energy that everything changed. This small shift redefined how I approached relationships, and it can do the same for you. Matching his energy doesn't mean playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. It means aligning your effort with his. If he's slow to respond, take a breath and let it be. If he shows genuine interest, respond in kind. This approach isn't about withholding affection, it's about creating balance, respecting yourself, and letting the dynamic unfold naturally. As the Stoics teach us, too often, we give too much too soon, hoping to prove our worth. But true connection isn't about overcompensating, it's about mutual investment. When you overextend, always texting first, always rearranging your schedule for him, you risk tilting the balance and losing your sense of self. Relationships thrive on reciprocity, and by matching his energy, you allow space for him to step up and show his intentions. Imagine this. He takes hours to reply to your text. Instead of obsessing over what he might be thinking, go about your day. Focus on your work, call a friend, or dive into a hobby that excites you. By the time he finally responds, you're so immersed in your life that his delay doesn't even register as significant. This isn't indifference, it's self-respect. It shows that your world doesn't revolve around his actions, and that is profoundly magnetic. Stoic philosophy reminds us to focus on what we can control: our reactions, our choices, and our emotions. You can't control how he communicates or how quickly he replies, but you can control how you respond. If his actions leave you questioning your value, pause and ask yourself, am I investing too much energy into someone who isn't meeting me halfway? One of the most powerful lessons I've learned is the importance of creating space. When you stop overextending, you allow the other person to step into the dynamic and contribute. Think of it as a dance. If you're constantly leading, there's no room for him to show up. By matching his energy, you're inviting balance and giving him the opportunity to pursue. This doesn't mean you should be passive. It means being intentional about how you invest your time and emotions. Let's break this down into actionable steps. First, resist the urge to overanalyze. If his message is vague or his plans are unclear, don't rush to fill in the gaps. Give him the chance to clarify or take the initiative. Second, Set boundaries around your availability. For example, if he only reaches out late at night, let him know you prefer to connect during the day. Boundaries aren't about control, they're about protecting your energy and showing that your time is valuable. Finally, focus on your life outside of the relationship. The more you nurture your passions, friendships, and goals, the less power your actions will have over you. Matching his energy doesn't just protect your peace, it also creates an air of mystery and intrigue. When you're not always readily available, he begins to wonder about you, your thoughts, your life, your priorities. This isn't about manipulation, it's about being authentically engaged in your own life, and when you're truly living, you become irresistibly attractive. Confidence, independence, and self-respect are qualities that draw people in naturally. Let's address a common fear. What if he loses interest because I stop chasing? By matching his energy, you shift the focus back to where it belongs, on yourself. You reclaim your time, your emotions, and your sense of self. And in doing so, you create a healthier, more fulfilling dynamic. Ask yourself this: am I reflecting his effort or overcompensating for his lack of it? As Marcus Aurelius once said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. By aligning your energy with his, you free yourself from the anxiety of overthinking and instead focus on living fully and intentionally. This isn't just about relationships, it's about cultivating a mindset of balance and respect that enhances every aspect of your life. When you match his energy, you embody the quiet confidence of a high-value woman, someone who doesn't just survive, but thrives. And that, my friend, is the ultimate power. 3. Reward effort, not excuses. You're dating someone who always seems to have an excuse. You've heard it all. Work is crazy, I'm too tired, or I've just got so much going on. At first you sympathize, you think everyone has busy periods, right? But as the pattern repeats itself, you realize something is off. Plans are made and canceled last minute, and promises are spoken but never kept. And there you are, wondering if you're expecting too much, or if they're simply not making an effort. This is a situation many of us have faced, and it's the perfect time to ask yourself, am I rewarding excuses, or am I expecting genuine effort? One listener once shared her story with me. She had been seeing someone who frequently canceled dates with a litany of excuses. At first, she let it slide. She didn't want to seem demanding. But as weeks turned into months, she began to feel undervalued and unimportant. Finally, after one too many excuses, she calmly told him, I value honesty and effort in a relationship. If this is going to work, I need to see that from you. The response was telling. He began putting in more consistent effort, proving that her boundary was exactly what the relationship needed. And if he hadn't, she would have walked away, knowing she had respected herself. The key lesson here is simple. Action speaks louder than words. It's easy for someone to promise change or claim they care, but true intentions are revealed through behavior. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, what we do now echoes in eternity. When someone's actions align with their words, it's a sign of respect and sincerity. When they don't, it's an opportunity to reflect on whether the relationship is worth your energy. Rewarding effort doesn't mean being overly critical or withholding kindness. It means recognizing and appreciating real effort when it's there while refusing to settle for excuses. For example, if they take the time to plan a meaningful evening or check in with you consistently, acknowledge it. A simple, heartfelt, I really appreciate this effort, it makes me feel valued, can go a long way. But when excuses become the norm, it's time to address the imbalance. Say something like, I understand that life gets busy, but I also need consistency to feel secure in this relationship. These conversations may feel uncomfortable, but they set the foundation for mutual respect and understanding. Imagine you're in this situation. You've planned a date, and at the last minute they cancel again. They say they're tired, or something came up. It's easy to brush it off or convince yourself that it's fine, but deep down you know it's not. In moments like these, ask yourself, am I being fair to myself? If the answer is no, it's time to set a boundary. Boundaries aren't about controlling the other person. They're about protecting your energy and ensuring that you're treated with the respect you deserve. Here's what's powerful about this approach. When you stop rewarding excuses and start valuing effort, you shift the dynamic. Suddenly they're faced with a choice: Step up or step out. If they care, they'll rise to meet your standards. If they don't, you'll have the clarity to move on without regret. This isn't rejection. It's redirection. It's making space for someone who is willing to give what you truly deserve. One of the most empowering lessons from Stoic philosophy is focusing on what you can control. You can't control whether someone changes, but you can control how you respond. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. If someone isn't meeting your standards, you have the power to walk away. That decision, difficult as it may feel, is an act of self-respect and self-love. Let's go back to the listener's story. When she communicated her boundaries, her partner began making more consistent efforts, planning dates, being present, and valuing her time. Her decision to hold firm on her standards created a shift. And if he hadn't changed, she knew she would have walked away with her head held high, knowing she stayed true to her worth. This isn't just about relationships, it's about every interaction in life. Reward the people who uplift you, who meet you halfway, and who show you through their actions that you matter. Let go of those who don't. As you reflect on this principle, consider where you may be rewarding excuses in your own life. Is it in a relationship, a friendship, even in how you treat yourself? Make the decision today to expect more, because you deserve more. When you reward effort and stop accepting excuses, you elevate not just your relationships, but your entire life. And that is the power of knowing your worth. 4. Set boundaries. There is a quiet strength in knowing where you draw the line. Setting boundaries is not about controlling others. It's about defining how you wish to be treated and having the courage to uphold those standards. Boundaries protect your peace, safeguard your emotional well-being, and create a foundation of respect in any relationship. Without them, you risk losing sight of your own value, giving more than you receive, and becoming resentful over time. This is why boundaries are not just an option, they are a necessity. As women, we are often taught to be accommodating and to prioritize harmony over our own needs. But ask yourself, at what cost? When you fail to set boundaries, you allow others to dictate the terms of your relationships, your time, and your energy. And while it may feel easier in the moment to avoid conflict, the long-term effects can leave you feeling unappreciated and depleted. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect and an affirmation of your worth. Stoic philosophy teaches us that we cannot control the actions of others, but we can control how we respond. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Boundaries are a practical application of this wisdom. When you set clear limits, you're not trying to force someone to behave a certain way, you're communicating what you will and will not tolerate. And this clarity empowers both you and those around you. Think about the relationships in your life. Are there moments when you felt disrespected, undervalued, or taken for granted? These feelings are often signals that a boundary has been crossed or is missing altogether. By listening to these signals, you can begin to identify where boundaries are needed. For example, if someone frequently cancels plans last minute, you might set a boundary around valuing your time. Or if a partner's communication is inconsistent, you could express your need for reliability and follow through. Setting boundaries requires clear and honest communication. It's not about ultimatums or harsh words, but about expressing your needs with calm confidence. For instance, instead of saying, "You never make time for me," you might say, "I value quality time in a relationship, and I'd like us to prioritize that more." This approach fosters understanding rather than defensiveness, making it more likely that your boundary will be respected. However, setting boundaries is only half the equation. The other half is enforcing them. If someone repeatedly crosses your limits despite being aware of them, it's a sign that they may not value or respect you in the way you deserve. In these situations, it's important to hold firm. Walking away from someone who refuses to honor your boundaries is not a loss. It's a statement of your self-worth. As Epictetus reminds us, know first who you are and then adorn yourself accordingly. Let's address a common fear. What if setting boundaries pushes them away? The truth is that boundaries don't repel the right people. they attract them. A person who genuinely cares for you will respect your limits, even if they don't fully understand them at first. On the other hand, someone who reacts negatively to your boundaries may not have your best interests at heart. And isn't it better to know that sooner rather than later? Boundaries act as a filter, revealing who belongs in your life and who doesn't. Establishing boundaries also has a transformative effect on your own sense of self. The more you practice asserting your needs, the more confident and empowered you become. You start to realize that your worth is not tied to how much you give or how little you demand. Instead, it is rooted in your ability to honor and prioritize yourself. This shift doesn't just affect your relationships, it radiates into every area of your life, from your career to your friendships to your own self-perception. Stoic wisdom reminds us to seek balance and to live in alignment with our values. Boundaries are a tool for achieving this balance. They prevent overextending, protect your energy, and ensure that your interactions are rooted in mutual respect. When you set boundaries, you're not just saying, "This is what I expect from you." You're also saying, "This is what I expect from myself." Take a moment to reflect. Where in my life do I need to set clearer boundaries? It could be in how you allow others to speak to you, how much time you dedicate to things that drain you, or even how you speak to yourself. Boundaries aren't rigid walls, they're flexible, living guidelines that adapt to different situations while staying true to your core values. Remember, setting boundaries isn't about creating distance, it's about fostering clarity and respect. It's about valuing yourself enough to say, "This is what I need to thrive." And in doing so, you set the tone for how others should treat you. Boundaries are not just a tool, they are a declaration of self-respect. Use them wisely, and you'll create a life where your relationships, energy, and peace are protected. 5. Stop chasing, start attracting. A close friend of mine once shared a story that completely shifted how I view relationships. She had been trying to get closer to someone she admired for months, always being the one to text first, plan meetups, and initiate conversations. One day, exhausted and feeling unappreciated, she decided to take a step back. Instead of chasing his attention, she signed up for yoga classes and joined a baking course she'd always dreamed of. As she started to focus on herself, something remarkable happened. He began reaching out, asking about her life and wanting to spend more time with her. She didn't chase him. She became someone he couldn't help but be drawn to. This story illustrates an important truth. Attraction is most powerful when it's effortless. When you stop chasing and start investing in yourself, you create a magnetic energy that draws people in naturally. It's not about playing games or pretending to be uninterested. It's about genuinely living your life in a way that reflects your worth and priorities. As the Stoics teach us, be content to seem what you really are. When you focus inward, you become someone who doesn't need to prove their value because it radiates from within. Chasing someone often comes from a place of insecurity or fear. You may think, "If I don't keep reminding them of my presence, they'll forget about me." But the truth is, chasing often has the opposite effect. It creates a dynamic where the other person takes you for granted, feeling no urgency to make an effort because you're always there. Instead of fostering connection, it leads to imbalance and frustration. By letting go of this need to chase, you shift the focus back to where it belongs, on you. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean you stop caring about the other person. It means you prioritize your own growth, happiness, and fulfillment. Ask yourself, what makes me come alive? What have I been neglecting in my life? It could be your fitness, a creative hobby, or even friendships you haven't nurtured. Redirecting your energy into these areas doesn't just make you more confident, it also reminds you that your worth isn't tied to someone else's attention. Imagine this. Instead of waiting anxiously for a reply or rearranging your schedule to accommodate someone, you spend your time doing things that bring you joy. You pick up a new book, join a painting class, or plan a trip with friends. In doing so, you create a life so rich and fulfilling that anyone who steps into it sees the value of being a part of it. This isn't manipulation, it's a testament to the power of self-worth. When you stop chasing, you allow the other person to step forward and meet you halfway. This creates a dynamic of reciprocity, where both individuals contribute equally to the connection. If they choose not to step up, that's your clarity. It's a sign that they may not be the right person for you. And while that realization can be painful, it's also liberating. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." Letting go of someone who doesn't value you creates space for someone who will. This approach isn't just about relationships, it's about every aspect of your life. When you focus on growth and self-improvement, you naturally elevate your standards. You start to attract opportunities, friendships, and relationships that align with your values. Confidence, independence, and purpose are qualities that draw people in, not because you're trying to impress them, but because they reflect who you truly are. Let's return to my friend's story. When she stopped chasing and started investing in herself, the shift was almost immediate. The man she had been pursuing began to notice her in a new light, not because she had changed who she was, but because she was finally living authentically. He saw her passion, her joy, and her confidence, and he realized what he had been missing. The beauty of this story is that whether or not he had stepped up, she would have been fine. She had already reclaimed her happiness and rediscovered her value. Ask yourself, am I chasing someone who isn't meeting me halfway? Am I neglecting my own life in the process? If the answer is yes, it's time to shift your focus. Start by making a list of 3 things you've always wanted to do but have put off. Commit to pursuing them, not because it will make someone notice you, but because it will make you notice yourself. This is the essence of attraction. Living a life so vibrant and fulfilling that others can't help but be drawn to it. When you stop chasing, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of seeking validation. You become the high-value woman who doesn't need to demand attention because it comes naturally. As Epictetus wisely said, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." When you adorn your life with growth, joy, and purpose, you embody the kind of confidence that commands respect and admiration. This is the true power of stopping the chase and starting to attract. 6. Learn to read the signals. In every relationship, there are signals, some clear, others subtle, that reveal the other person's intentions and level of commitment. The challenge lies in discerning which signals are genuine and which are merely distractions. This skill, when mastered, can save you immeasurable time and energy, allowing you to invest in connections that truly align with your values. Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus on what is within our control and let go of what is not. Applied to relationships, this means paying attention to actions rather than words. Anyone can make promises or declarations, but it's their consistent behavior that reveals their truth. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Learning to read the signals requires a balance of observation and self-awareness. It starts with stepping back and asking yourself, what is this person communicating through their behavior? It's also important to recognize the difference between effort and convenience. Genuine effort requires intention. It's planning a thoughtful date, checking in regularly, or making sacrifices to prioritize the relationship. Convenience, on the other hand, is reaching out only when it's easy or when they have nothing else going on. Ask yourself, am I being treated as a priority or as an option? One of the most empowering aspects of reading signals is that it shifts the focus back to your own power. You're no longer waiting for someone else to define the relationship or clarify their intentions. Instead, you're gathering the information you need to make an informed decision. This isn't about playing a detective. It's about honoring yourself enough to seek clarity. But how do you cultivate this ability? Start by practicing stillness. When emotions run high, it's tempting to act impulsively or make assumptions. Instead, pause and observe. What patterns are emerging? Are they showing consistency, or are their actions erratic? Stillness allows you to separate your emotions from the reality of the situation, giving you the clarity to see things as they truly are. As Epictetus said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Listen to their actions. They often speak louder than words. Another key aspect is trusting your intuition. Too often we ignore our gut feelings, dismissing them as overthinking or insecurity. But your intuition is a powerful tool. It's the part of you that senses when something feels off, even if you can't articulate why. Trusting this inner voice doesn't mean jumping to conclusions. It means giving yourself permission to explore what it's trying to tell you. While reading signals is essential, it's equally important to avoid overanalyzing. There's a fine line between observing someone's behavior and becoming consumed by it. Obsessing over every text, pause, or response will only drain your energy and create unnecessary anxiety. Instead, focus on patterns over time. One delayed response doesn't mean they're uninterested. Repeated inconsistency might. Stay grounded in the bigger picture. When you learn to read signals effectively, you reclaim control over your narrative. You're no longer at the mercy of mixed messages or unclear intentions. Instead, you're empowered to make choices that align with your standards. This doesn't just benefit you, it sets the tone for how others treat you. People respect those who respect themselves, and your ability to discern genuine signals from noise demonstrates that respect. Remember, not everyone will meet your standards, and that's okay. The purpose of reading signals isn't to judge or criticize, it's to filter out what doesn't serve you and make room for what does. As you develop this skill, you'll find it becomes second nature. You'll instinctively gravitate toward people who value you and distance yourself from those who don't. The Stoics teach us to live in alignment with our values and to focus on what truly matters. In relationships, this means seeking connections built on mutual respect, consistency, and effort. When you prioritize these qualities, you naturally attract people who embody them. And when you encounter someone who doesn't, you have the wisdom to recognize it and the courage to walk away. So take a moment to reflect. Am I investing in someone whose signals align with my standards? Or am I ignoring red flags in the hope that they'll change? The answer will guide you toward clarity and peace. By mastering the art of reading signals, you not only elevate your relationships, but also strengthen your relationship with yourself. 7. Decide if he's worth it. Every relationship reaches a moment of truth, a point where you must ask yourself, is he truly worth my time, energy, and emotions? This question, though simple, holds the power to transform your path forward. It demands clarity, honesty, and a deep understanding of your own worth. The Stoics remind us that our time is our most precious resource. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." In the context of relationships, this means evaluating whether the person you're investing in contributes to your growth and happiness or detracts from it. To decide if he's worth it, start by reflecting on his actions, not his promises. Promises are easy to make, but consistent behavior is where true intentions are revealed. Ask yourself, does he respect my time and boundaries? Does he make me feel valued and supported? Does he add to my life, or does he leave me feeling uncertain and unfulfilled? These questions are not about blaming him. They're about understanding what you need and whether he aligns with that vision. When someone values you, their actions will reflect it consistently. They will prioritize your connection, make an effort to meet your needs, and demonstrate their care in tangible ways. It's also important to assess how the relationship makes you feel about yourself. A healthy relationship should enhance your self-esteem, not diminish it. If you find yourself questioning your worth, overanalyzing his behavior, or constantly trying to prove your value, it may be a sign that he's not meeting you on equal ground. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If this relationship fills your mind with doubt and worry, it's time to consider whether it aligns with your highest good. Making this decision is not about perfection. No one is perfect, and no relationship is without its challenges. Instead, it's about effort and alignment. Is he willing to grow with you, to work through challenges with mutual respect and understanding? Or does he avoid accountability, leaving you to carry the weight of the relationship alone? The answers lie in his actions, not in your hopes or assumptions. Sometimes, the hardest part of this process is acknowledging that he may not be worth it. Walking away can feel like a loss, but in truth, it's an act of self-respect. When you let go of someone who doesn't meet your standards, you create space for something better. As Epictetus said, the key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. By choosing yourself, you set the stage for a life filled with meaningful connections and experiences. If you're struggling to decide, consider this. Imagine a friend you deeply care about is in your position. She's pouring her heart into someone who doesn't appreciate her or match her effort. What would you tell her? Often, it's easier to see the truth when we remove ourselves from the emotions of the situation. Apply that same clarity to your own life and trust your instincts. Making this decision requires courage. It's not easy to confront the possibility that someone you care about might not be the right person for you. But remember, every ending is also a beginning. Letting go of what doesn't serve you is not just an act of release, it's an act of opening. Opening to the possibility of a connection that is balanced, respectful, and fulfilling. Opening to the chance to rediscover yourself and your own power. Reflect on what you truly want in a partner. Not just surface-level traits, but the qualities that will build a foundation for a lasting relationship: trust, respect, communication, and shared values. These are non-negotiables, and settling for less will only leave you feeling empty in the long run. By holding yourself to these standards, you send a powerful message to the world. I know my worth, and I refuse to accept anything less. The Stoics teach us to let go of attachment to outcomes and focus instead on living with integrity. When you decide whether he's worth it, do so not from a place of fear or desperation, but from a place of strength. Know that whatever decision you make, you have the power to create a life that reflects your value and purpose. So take a deep breath and ask yourself, does this relationship honor who I am and what I deserve? If the answer is yes, nurture it with care and intention. If the answer is no, have the courage to walk away, knowing that your worth remains intact. You are not defined by his actions or his presence in your life. You are defined by the choices you make to honor yourself. In the end, deciding if he's worth it is about more than just him. It's about you. It's about reclaiming your power, setting your standards, and choosing a life where you are cherished, respected, and loved. Remember, the right person will never make you question your value. And when you choose yourself, you set the foundation for everything else to fall into place. As we come to the end of this journey, let's take a moment to reflect. Each of the steps we've explored today, focusing on your value, matching his energy, rewarding effort instead of excuses, setting boundaries, stopping the chase to start attracting, learning to read the signals, and deciding if he's truly worth it, has one central purpose: to help you reclaim your power and embrace your worth. These aren't just strategies for relationships, they're principles for living with dignity, confidence, and clarity. Stoic philosophy teaches us that our peace comes not from controlling others, but from mastering ourselves. When you internalize this wisdom, you stop reacting to the chaos around you and start responding with intention and grace. You create a life where your value is recognized not because you demand it, but because you embody it. Ask yourself, how can I take what I've learned today and apply it to my life? Start small if you must, but start. Whether it's setting a boundary you've been avoiding, investing in your passions, or letting go of someone who doesn't see your worth, each step is a declaration of self-respect. I encourage you to share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. What resonated with you most? Have you faced similar challenges, or have you found ways to overcome them? Your experiences might inspire someone else on their journey to self-worth. Remember, the right people will be drawn to your strength, your confidence, and your authenticity. By prioritizing yourself, you're setting the foundation for deeper, more meaningful connections, and that is a life worth living.